1, 2, 3, 4.
Bonus episode.
Bonus episode. Bonus
Episode of King of the What Now.
Guess who's back?
Hello, everybody, and my name is Markiplier.
No, that's not right.
It's not?
No, we're King of the What Now.
King of the what now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, not Markiplier. What's up?
We have returned from the dead, it would appear.
I really thought you were going to say from the pit. I have Five Nights at Freddy's brain rot so badly. But yeah, no, we haven't recorded in a while, but we are here. We wanted to give you guys an update about things we've been reading, watching, listening to, and what we've been up to with our lives. We did not just stop existing as human beings, even though you couldn't hear us in your ear holes. I know it's hard to believe, but we're here. We exist.
Hey, we have a couple of Discords we're on that are very small, and so, we have a handful of people who can attest to the fact that we exist.
My participation in Discord has gotten lower and lower the further into this PhD I get.
Oh, yeah.
I digress. Joel, are we back because there was a single comment on one of our YouTube videos that said, "Is this channel abandoned?" Because that comment hurt my heart real bad.
It did hurt my heart real bad. We are not back simply because of that. I was like, oh, we should do an episode on this book that came out, Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. But this episode is not about that. This episode is about checking in, because I thought we were going to have so much to catch up on that it would be too long for the people who wanted to hear us talk about the book.
Right. And also you felt weird just dropping a podcast episode without explaining ourselves somehow.
Absolutely.
You are your mother's son.
So, big change that's happened in the last 2 years. I was trying to figure out when the last episode we uploaded was, because the YouTube channel has some of our old One Piece episodes. And so those aren't technically the latest episodes that we dropped. Does not matter. It's been a long time. First big change is that we have moved halfway across the country.
Yes, we are in now, which makes this 3 states that we have lived in and recorded this podcast in. I think we should set a goal of recording an episode of this podcast in each of the 50 states.
All right. Yeah, possibly.
Absolutely.
We could split it up so that we don't have to record each episode together. We could have a Catherine solo episode, and you could have Alaska, and I'll take Hawaii. That'll be my episode.
Okay, I like that I get the cold state and you get the warm one.
Yes, as far as I know, the biggest time zone difference you can have between any 2 states in the United States is 3 hours, and we've now switched. We've shifted forward into the future 3 hours.
Let me tell you, it being 8 a.m. where I am and 5 a.m. where my parents are is really inconvenient for them.
It sure is. You've become a menace to their society.
They've had to get used to waking up really early to take my calls.
Absolutely. Imagine if, we lived in, Paris or something, and we were calling them. Okay, so why did we move halfway across the country?
Because your wife's hubris is unmatched. I decided to do a PhD. I wanted to broaden my scope of practice by getting my psychology license. And then literally a week into starting coursework, I went, I don't actually want to work with humans. Working with humans sucks. I want to train dogs. So I am doing my PhD specifically in dog behavior. So I've been doing a lot of different training things. I work for a national service dog organization. I teach at the university. I teach dog training out of an animal shelter. So it's exciting, but it's very busy. It's a lot.
Big change. The weather here is quite drastically different than where we came from.
Yes. If any of you smartasses out there are thinking about putting in the comments, what's your dissertation? Dogs. I'm doing a counter conditioning study, and you can Google that because Joel doesn't want me to get into it, probably.
I think that there's a short answer, and then I think there's the Catherine length answer.
Yes.
So we could break that off into its own podcast episode.
Another big change that kind of came with the move, kind of didn't, was that in addition to my insanity of deciding to pursue a PhD,
I have a new son!
You have a new son! We got a puppy at the same time. And do you want to kind of tell the story of how he became your puppy, or should I?
Well, hang on.
Okay.
So we move halfway across the country. We're far away from any friends and family that we've ever known and loved. And our dog, Gigi, we've mentioned her before, she legitimately gets depressed. She's like, back where we used she can't talk. At least as far as the wider world knows, she can't talk. But she just had this kind of like, oh, I used to play with other Australian shepherds back home and other dogs that could match my freak, and now I'm here and I don't have any dog friends. We've since found a dog park, but we thought, you know what? What if we got another dog?
Now, internet, getting a dog for your dog is typically a terrible decision. It worked for this dog. This dog needed a dog.
Listen to the dog behavioral master? Hang on, expert. That's the word I was looking for.
You can call me master.
My brain has melted as well over the last 2 years. But no, another part of the reason why we took a break, we'll get into it a little bit more, but like, my mental health wasn't great. And so not only was Gigi kind of depressed, I was kind of depressed. And so Gigi was a farm dog. Not really, there's no like official AKC papers on her ancestry, but this time we did it legit. And so Catherine talked to one of her dog breeding friends, companions, and...
Lovers? No, friends.
I was thinking like business partners, but that's not quite it. But you're in the same club member. But you did it the official way, from a breeder who asks you like, oh, what kind of personality are you looking for in your dog? And you said, my husband needs a dog who will snuggle him. And
Give me the snuggliest boy you have.
Give me the snuggliest boy you have. And then he gets out of the car with your mom. Your mom brings the dog over because this dog is from where we used to live. And she opens the door and he just runs straight to me.
It was on site. This teeny tiny puffball just booked it straight to Joel.
Yes. And he has been my dog this whole time.
It's really interesting. Dogs typically prefer women, in my experience. Like, most of them want to be around the wife in a given couple, and most of them, like in the shelter, will be uncomfortable with men and cool with women if they're going to be uncomfortable with anybody. But Kirby prefers men, to the point where I've had male students, and he will seek them out over hanging out with any of the women in class.
He is a riot. His name is Kirby because he has the biggest appetite of any dog I've owned. I've only had 4 in my life, so it's not like a high bar to set, but like, he literally has this sound when you put his food on the ground, you scatter feed him. It's just like, it's like an axolotl. It's and it's like, geez, Lo, your mouth shouldn't be making those sounds. What's going on, buddy?
It's amazing. He's an incredible dog. Yeah. So that's kind of like life updates. Big move, doing a PhD, got a dog.
I stopped running after we moved. But that was after we stopped the pod, after we took our break, and I've since gotten back into running. So to our listeners, it's like no time has passed there.
Yes, absolutely. And you're going to run an ultra with me as a gift for graduating this PhD, right?
Maybe.
50 miles?
No, yeah, sure, absolutely.
100-mile race over Mount Fuji, you and me?
We will see where we go with that. I've gotten into writing lately. None of it is available yet, but I'm setting word goals. I am sitting down and I'm writing. Nowadays, it's every day. It used to be like at least twice a week. I have a writing group. I'm hoping to finish 4 novella-length stories that are all kind of a sequel to each other. They're all in the same universe. And we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, he's a really good writer. For a second, when you said they're not, I thought you were going to say they're not any good, they're not available.
I see.
But they are. They're really good, and I love my husband, and I'm super proud of his creative genius.
I'm pretty proud of this. I am not going to say, oh, I'm the best, but I will admit I've been working hard on this, and I hope with some revisions they'll sing, as they say.
You know, Joel, we wanted to use this episode to talk about what we've been up to, right?
Yes.
And when you just said they're the best, you put me in mind of the greatest song that I've heard in the last 2 years.
Okay.
Which is that Minecraft song that's like, that's right, we're the best.
The first thing I wanted to do was
Team up with me.
That's right, we're the best.
Oh, yeah, from Hermitcraft.
Yeah.
Or no, I don't think... Anyways, it doesn't matter. Something semi-related to Hermitcraft, but not exactly.
Yep. So now we're going to have to put a clip from that song in the end of this episode.
Absolutely. I did some drawing for a little bit. Here's the thing about the creative process in the ADHD mind, you kind of bounce around. I don't have time to both write and draw and have a job and, have any level of free time. But, someday I'm going to draw every Pokemon, which means I'm going to either have to decide I'll have to draw every Pokemon up to the date of my death, or I'll have to wait for Pokemon to stop being a series and then catch up.
So up to the date of your death.
Up to the date of my death,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else from your personal life? I can't think of anything major, really.
Nope.
Didn't get a third arm installed, sewn
not.
on there, or anything like that.
Have come awfully close to bringing home a third dog, but so far I've resisted temptation. Don't recommend 3 dogs at once while you're doing a PhD.
Yeah.
Might make your husband cranky.
You know what? 100%. So, we took a break.
Yes.
What's your version of the story? What would you say happened that put the podcast on break?
I remember being like, hey, I would like to take a break from the podcast. I don't think I'll have time for it while I'm doing this PhD.
Okay. That's probably true. What my recollection is, and my recollection is garbage, I'm not making that up for a bit. There's just things that I just completely forget about. But my recollection was that I wasn't in a good headspace, and it was stressful to try to get an episode out every week. I wasn't really feeling PreCure anymore. Like, I really wanted to like Soaring Sky, and it just, I don't know, it didn't sing for me.
It fell flat. It didn't soar.
Absolutely. So I thought we were going to take like a little break, and I thought maybe I would do maybe solo episodes, or maybe we would switch to a monthly format. But if you've ever watched ReZero, or any show about people who kind of become like shut-ins, NEETs, I think they're called, the momentum builds. The longer you go without doing something, the harder it is to get back into doing something. Same with going to the gym. If you go to the gym once a week, twice a week, however many times a week, it's easy. But if you take a break for 2 months, it's hard to go back to the gym, probably, unless you're like really like in love with the dumbbell. Dumbbell. Our love could never be. But anyways,
I feel like that could be a really funny romance anime, like a comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Reincarnated into another world as my wife's dumbbell.
Okay.
Anyways, so in my mind, I thought we were going to continue in some fashion or another, and then weeks became months, I stopped thinking about the podcast. Oh, there was something else I was going to point out. So the One Piece aspect of this podcast, we might not be returning to it. We might not get back into it because in the interim, since we've taken our break, I've since joined another podcast called Piecemeal. They're wonderful. They're great. Please go check them out. They're manga only, which is great. And the thing is that when I started the podcast, I wanted to get a friend of mine into it who'd never experienced it, and I thought that was an interesting dynamic. One person who knew the series well, one who didn't, and it turned out a couple of other people had the same ideas as us, but, it was more about me and Curtis enjoying it together, and he has now moved on to other things, and then the other thing is that, I have a couple of ideas. I want to talk about how cool Sanji is, but I usually bring up my thoughts on One Piece over on Piecemeal. So if I did some kind of solo One Piece thing, I think that I would just be saying the same things you would hear me say over there. And, you're still busy. That's another limiting factor, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although I will say, I might be willing to go back to the actual One Piece podcast that started this channel if we started from Whole Cake Island, because I stopped watching the anime after Dressrosa, and the manga just lost me.
Okay.
I can't read shonen battles. What are people doing with their bodies? Nobody knows. But in the anime, it's pretty cool, so.
Absolutely. So yeah, I just kind of stopped thinking about the podcast for a little while. I was kind of thinking, maybe we could get back into it. Your schedule's pretty busy, and as we alluded to already, the fifth of the Stormlight Archive books came out, Wind and Truth, and we were 3 chapters into it, and I was like, maybe for old time's sake, we should discuss this book.
I think we did the first 2 books on the channel. I don't think we've gotten up to Oathbringer and the other one. Maybe,
Rhythm of War.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, I would love to do maybe a book club podcast. The thing is, this is another concern of mine. I want to kind of branch out, but I don't want our audience to get tired of us flip-flopping. First we were One Piece, then we were PreCure, and I thought we were going to be PreCure forever, and now it's hard for me to enjoy PreCure. So, I have a video that has been scripted, that has been recorded, I have edited the audio, and I'm thinking of doing visuals for it that will go up on YouTube. It's not related to either of those things. It's a video game. It's about Five Nights at Freddy's, the horror franchise.
Okay, so I've got a secret for you. You lean in close?
Okay, yeah.
Get closer than that.
Yes.
Okay, I actually do this podcast as an excuse to spend time with my husband. So we can talk about whatever we want. If we get listeners, that's cool.
You know what? That is a good point. We're not doing this as a profession. I think that's another thing, too. If we were getting paid, if we made our livelihood from weekly uploads, I would have done something. You know, maybe not PreCure, but I would have found something to talk about. But since this is just a hobby, yeah, we'll take breaks when we need to.
Yeah, now that you're tapping into that sweet, sweet FNAF market, maybe, but...
This is not a FNAF channel. It will never
Nobody believes you. Do you remember when, is it Bibby? What's his name?
What? Oh,
guy.
Gibby? Yeah, Gibby.
Yes, why did I think his name was Bibby?
I think you were thinking of Bibbery from Kira PreCure a la mode, longest PreCure title ever.
Way to bring it back. No, yeah, so Gibby, in his very first FNAF video, was like, this isn't going to be a FNAF channel, and now he reads the books on camera. So I think FNAF is cursed. I think once you make one video, you're stuck making FNAF videos.
Yeah, absolutely. The only problem is as mentioned before, I'm stupid. So people in the community, in the Five Nights at Freddy's community, henceforth I'm just going to call it FNAF, but they will debate about where a certain location called Circus Baby's Pizza World, where it existed in the timeline. If you don't know Freddy's, this makes no sense to you, but there's a business, and we know it opened sometime after probably 1800, probably. And probably sometime before 2235.
Seems likely.
But we don't know which year, and I cannot follow when people talk about, like, well, actually, if you remember in this game, the pixels were slightly non-pixelated, and it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I don't think that I can make enough content that would satisfy people, because I'm going to get things wrong, and people are like, I'm just going to go listen to these other people.
Okay, but is Mustard Man from Midnight Motorist Andrew from the books?
How dare you? How dare you speak that name in here? Get out of here with that. I'm actually peeking. I have to make sure that I don't yell too loud, because otherwise it'll become garbled.
Oh no.
If you want to believe Andrew's in the books, that's fine, but also fight me.
You just said Andrew's in the books. I think everyone believes.
Oh yeah, Andrew is in the books. Yeah. If you think Andrew's in the games, you can fight me IRL or not, because we are trying to be positive. That's another thing that I think we want to do moving forward. We don't want to talk about, oh, this book sucks, or oh, this author is bad. We will just focus on, oh, I really like this author, kind of a thing.
Yes, there's a lot of negativity in the world. We do not need to add to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Joel, so from the past...
I'm going to put you on the spotlight really quick. If you had to do one video for this channel that wasn't dog behavior related, maybe more entertainment, you know, anime, movies, TV shows, books, and it wasn't Wind and Truth, what would you like to work on next?
A deep dive into why Danganronpa is the greatest series of all time.
Excellent segue. The other part of this catch-up episode, are we back? Maybe, sort of, kind of. Where did we go? We're depressed halfway across the country. I'm depressed halfway across the country.
I'm also depressed. I'm doing a PhD.
You're working on getting your PhD so you can become Dr. Depressed. And then now we can focus on what else have we been up to. And you discovered a video game series that is near and dear to your heart.
Oh my god, I'm not capable of being normal about Danganronpa. When we were playing, there were nights where we were up, like, really late, and we don't do well if we don't get enough sleep. Like, it has severe effects on our day-to-day functioning. I wouldn't go to bed because I wanted to keep playing Danganronpa. I needed to get to the next trial and solve the next mystery.
You actually stood up and cheered at a pivotal moment in the second game. Danganronpa is a great series. If you've never played them and you don't have any experience with them, please check them out. But please keep an open mind. I actually had an essay that I wrote and started to record, and I never finished it. Oh, that's another thing. In these last 2 years, I've written at least like 3 essays that have not seen the light of day. I might go back and revive them. I have a new computer now. I don't sound as weird as I did on the old one, so maybe it will sound better. But like one of them, I was like, I've recorded this 3 times, and I sound awful.
That might have been the Danganronpa one.
Yeah, I think it was the Jujutsu Kaisen one.
Oh, that was really good.
So anyways, Danganronpa. It's weird, but once you get into it, you hit a moment where you go, this all clicked. I get it now. And once you get it, it can be a really good, powerful message about, like, narrative stories and how they affect us. And each game jumps off from the last one and adds, like, a new wrinkle to it. It's so good.
It's so good. Okay, so whole trilogy of games. Mm-hmm. Who is best boy? Who is best girl?
Oh, I can't. Okay, so Akane is high up there for me for purely culture reasons. I do think that she has more of a character than some people think that she does. She's the Goku archetype. She's, kind of dumb, but carefree and happy and whatever. She has a decent arc. I also like Chiaki. She's very obviously supposed to be your favorite girl.
Which is funny, because I was suspicious of her the whole game for no reason.
She was, absolutely, she might be the traitor.
She was too nice.
Best boy, though, I think is Kazuichi for me.
Okay.
I'll fucking kill you.
Wait. You mean Furuhiko, right?
What did I
Kazuichi
say?
is Soda.
Oh, God,
You
yeah.
hate that guy.
I don't Kazuichi is not my favorite. No, not at all.
Yeah, you like the little baby gangster man.
The little baby gangster.
I love baby gangster.
All right.
No, so I think you could guess my answers.
I know your best boy. It goes without saying.
Okay, we'll say it on the count of 3. We'll say it together. Are you
Wait,
ready?
hang on. I need to remember his name. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Nagito. Yeah.
I was actually going to say it's a tie for me between Nagito and Makoto Naegi.
Okay.
Which is a boring answer because he's the main character, but he's such a good boy.
I mean, if you think about it, Nagito really has main character energy as well.
Oh, he's perfect. I love him. I think Makoto as a protagonist is very similar to Luffy as a protagonist. One of the big critiques of One Piece is that Luffy has nowhere to grow as a character. He's kind of just there and the plot happens to him. And I feel like that's pretty much true of Makoto as well. But Makoto is kind of the audience stand-in who wants things to go well, even when they're clearly not going well. And that just worked really well for me.
I think that's my biggest complaint of Danganronpa is that... Okay, so if you've never played or heard of Danganronpa, 16 students, is it always 16? I think it doesn't matter. A certain number of students get trapped in a killing game where they have to kill other players in order to stay alive, basically. There's a person who wants them to murder each other, and they find clever ways to make them want to murder each other, even though they all swear that they're not going to do a murder, I swear. But the main character in all 3 games always says, I'm going to stop the murders from happening, but it seems to me that the only thing they do is try really hard to ask people not to do murders. And I get that, you want more trials to happen, you want murder so the plot can move forward, but that is my biggest complaint, is that I wish there was some way that the Makoto could be more proactive in these games.
It would be hard to code, but I think it would be neat to do a game like this where the relationships you choose to build affect who gets murdered.
Absolutely, yes. That is another thing, too. I don't know if you haven't played these games and you're going to. The game will sometimes give you choices, not when you're trying to figure out who done it, but just do you go to the beach or do you not go to the beach? Do you tell this person that you like them or that you hate them or whatever? Those choices don't affect the story. The story is static.
Yes.
But they're interesting games. They have weird mechanics. You go, oh yeah, this is the game with the mind hookers. And then someone goes, the what? And you go, don't worry about it. We'll get there.
Hit the mind hookers with your thought taxi. That's all I have to say about Danganronpa. No, I'm just kidding. You didn't let me say best girl.
Oh, yes.
Best girl is, of course, Kyoto Kirigiri, which is also a boring answer. But I love her so much. She was in the anime, and every time she was on screen, I was just so happy. Also, yeah, Danganronpa is a 3-game series that is actually a 4-game series, and the secret 3rd game is an anime.
Yes, there's a Danganronpa 3 and a Danganronpa V3. Or Danganronpa 3 the anime, Danganronpa 3 the game.
But nobody calls it that. Everybody calls it Danganronpa V3.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did record our thoughts in between each class trial, so those might eventually end up on the channel, and I would really like to see that, because if I recall, they were pretty funny.
Because I had seen all 3 of them before, so I knew who the killer was in each case. I somewhat remembered why they did it. There were a couple where I was like, I don't remember why they did it. But in general, I kind of knew where the story was going. You didn't. And so I kept being like, okay, who do you think the murderer was? Why do you think they did it? And that kind of a thing.
And I had, vague things that I remembered, because when you went insane, you went on a Danganronpa deep dive. That was your pre-FNAF.
That was my pandemic thing,
Yeah.
when the Game Grumps played.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was like, I think I remember this, and I'd tell you the plot elements that I thought I'd remember, and at one point you were like, that's insane. I never said anything like that. There's nothing.
Well, and I don't want to say what you said, because if people are going to the games and they don't know what to expect, it might be funny. But I will say one. you thought there was a spaceship in one of the games, that, like, aliens just kind of showed up, and, like, there is one character who tells a story related to a spaceship, but no, there's not a major spaceship reveal in any of the games, not necessarily.
In terms of, like, who would like these, I think if you like anime, you'd probably have a pretty good time with this game series.
Oh god, they're anime as heck.
Yeah, and there are some, like, iffy, like, sexualized scenes, but there aren't a lot of those, and I would say they're mostly localized to the second game.
Yeah, I guess I would say that.
Yeah, I'll spoil this for you for free right now. Somebody orgasms while they die.
Yeah, that's a cool and wonderful thought to have.
Are we far enough that YouTube won't be mad at us for that?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I
good.
don't know how it works.
But no, I really liked Danganronpa. I liked it so much that I was like, I immediately need to play the next game by this man, which was Detective Raincode. Actually, the name of the series is Detective Archives, and the name of this game is Raincode. There are no other titles in the series.
Yeah, Master Detective Archives, Detective Raincode, or something like that. Yeah.
That game was super awesome. Some of the gameplay was a little weird. It can get annoying playing these types of games to be like, wander around to the next objective, talk to the next person. I like the actual, like, solving puzzles part.
Yes, absolutely. All you need to know is that the final boss fight of each case involves a giant ghost girl grabbing your character in her mouth and then flipping you up so you land on her head and pilot her like a mech. That is legitimate.
All deplorables.
Absolutely.
That's a quote from the game. We're not trying to make a statement here.
Absolutely. Also, if you've never heard of these games, get ready for a lot of talking. Apparently that's a very Japanese thing. That's why visual novels work the way that they do. Because if I say, did you see my red car? You would, in Japanese, say something like, your red car? Yes, it's right here, or whatever. And so when it gets translated to English, it will literally be someone be like, I think that this person ingested poison. What? Poison? Yes. If you ingest poison, it kills a person.
Kills a person? Are they dead from the poison?
Yeah, it can be very repetitive, but I swear to God, if you can look past the drawbacks, there's a great story there. There really is.
Yeah, and I loved the wackiness and the idiosyncrasies by the time I was done with it. I hated the term comfort character until I played this series, because it just seemed odd to me, but Makoto Naegi is my comfort character. If I get sad, I think of Makoto Naegi, and I'm like, he wouldn't want me to give up hope. He would tell me to keep going.
Absolutely.
I'm going to segue that into another very hopeful boy that we enjoyed, Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer?
His name was Taco.
His name, hang on. We could remember his name. Was it Tatsu? No, it wasn't. Oh, okay. I can tell you that I like Inosuke.
Inosuke is perfect. Yeah.
There's Zenitsu, who
perfect.
Yeah, we're keeping it positive here. Zenitsu has his moments. He's really cool.
He doesn't work for Joel because he's the Sanji, but not hot. Tell me I'm wrong.
Okay, I was going to write it. I was thinking that maybe this would become like a little mini episode that I uploaded. Here's my problem with Demon Slayer Zenitsu.
Tanjiro Kameda.
Wait, Komeda, isn't that?
No, Kamado.
Okay, because Komeda is Nagito's last name. Oh, gosh.
Anyway, go ahead.
No. So, the thing about Sanji is that he's a pervert who also cares deeply about protecting his friends. He loves women in a kind of creepy way, but that also translates to him protecting women. Oda might mess it up, but his intention is to have this character who cares deeply, even if that's not always communicated in the right way. And Zenitsu, if you haven't watched Demon Slayer, his thing is that he was trained to be a really good Demon Slayer, but he's cowardly, and his powers manifest when he falls asleep. So he falls asleep, he becomes a badass, he kills the monster, usually, and then he wakes up and he goes, oh, someone must have taken care of the demons, but I'm still terrified of demons. I don't mind cowardly characters. Usopp is wonderful. I don't mind characters who maybe don't want to be here. Like, if demon slaying was like an innate ability, and he was born with the innate ability, like, I get not wanting to be a demon slayer, but you kind of have to be, because the demons are killing people. My problem is that in the anime, where the anime is up to right now, we haven't read the manga, he very rarely makes any effort to overcome his cowardice. He doesn't have any growth. all that the author seems to do, I could be wrong, but it seems like the development happens off screen, and the development, as far as I can tell, is Zenitsu gets slightly better at controlling his sleeping form.
Okay.
He's had 2 stand-up and cheer moments where he wasn't asleep, and they were awesome.
So listen
Yes.
to me. Fight me IRL. He is braver than Tanjiro because he complains about the demons and about being scared, but he goes every time. He hasn't tried to, like, seriously run away. He could have tried, but he still is, like, present. And there's an element kind of him being, like, forced into it, but I don't think anybody is really forcing this boy. His sleeping self would get up and leave.
Maybe. Yeah, look.
Like, he talks in his sleep, so
He
clearly
does-
he's aware.
Yeah. He's a great character in the moments when he's great, and Demon Slayer, beautiful. If you've ever heard anyone talk about it, it truly is. The way that they animate the magic system is so cool. I get mad every time I remember that they're not actually creating water or fire with their sword strikes. That's not diegetic. I almost said copacetic.
You talking about Demon Slayer and the magic not being diegetic is actually where I learned the word diegetic.
But, except I think there was one time when there was like a thunderclap from Zenitsu. And
God,
I think
he's
Tanjiro's
so
like,
cool! Oh man, all of the boys in this series are so good.
Yeah.
You remember the Flame Hashira?
Yeah, of course I remember the Flame Hashira.
He has a name.
Ryosuke?
Something like that.
You can tell that we very clearly loved these characters. We binged it all in like a couple of weeks. It was a great show. I think that it had a stronger beginning than it does later. And that's not me being negative. That's just me saying, like, I think it had a really cool opening arc kind of a thing.
Yeah. No, I think that the focus of the story and the pacing kind of changes. So, like, first season, I was like, wow, compared to a lot of other shonen anime we watch or read, the pacing on this feels really good. Like, I don't feel like we're rushed, but I don't feel like it's dragging it out. And then you get to, like, mid-season 2, and it's like, okay, everything is going now all at once, and now we're here, and we've got the best magic and the strongest people.
This isn't a marathon, it's a sprint. Go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's something that I will say for Demon Slayer's praise. When I am running and I feel like I can't go on, sometimes I repeat to myself, Hino Kami Kagura, and that helps me go a little bit faster. And that's a good thing.
I can confirm I had headphones on at the gym the other day and I still heard you say it.
I shouted it like a man to the heavens.
You know what I do when I'm running and I'm like, this is a really hard run? I do Sabo's Dragon Fist.
Okay,
And it hurts to do that with your hand. But it gives me strength.
Just so, in case you haven't seen Sabo's Dragon Claw thing, it's basically the Vulcan salute, but you curl all of your fingers in like their claws. We've watched a lot of anime, and just hang on, hang on, we gotta talk about it. We'll talk about it in a second. But shows that I remember us watching that were pretty cool. I liked Gentry Chow, okay, that's not necessarily anime. I think it was produced in America, but it kind of has an anime vibe. Kaiju Number 8 came out.
Oh my god.
Hang on. Mashle, Might and Magic, I think is what it's officially called. Like its full title is there. We were just talking about it. What's the other one that's like not traditional shonen battle, but I really liked?
Jujutsu Kaisen?
No, Jujutsu is 100%. But
Mashle?
we watched Jujutsu Kaisen. I just said Mashle.
Oh. But was it Mashle though?
It was not Mashle. It was DandaDan. And DandaDan does have battles, but it's just, I don't know. The vibe to me, it feels like almost like it's the beginning of a new movement of manga.
Yes. And now for something completely different, we watched Blue-Eyed Samurai.
Oh yeah, Blue-Eyed Samurai was pretty good too. What do you want to talk about first?
Okay, so for me, of the list that you just gave me, Kaiju Number 8 was just top tier. It was so good. So listen, y'all, I'm a big monster person. I love big monsters. I can't watch the Godzilla movies because I'm always sad that they're bothering Godzilla. Like, I think she should win. I think that's her island, and they bothered her with their nukes and such, and she did nothing wrong. And before you come for me, I understand that the first Godzilla movie was a metaphor for post-war and post-nuclear anxiety in Japan. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about how when Jaws came out, the killing of sharks skyrocketed. And sharks don't even attack that many people. We kill more sharks than sharks kill us. And I just feel like the shark deserves to win, you know? That's his ocean.
I've got this great game that came out for you. It's called Maneater, and it's basically that is the premise of the game. But no, so you really like monsters, and now you have a chance to cheer for the monster. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, premise of Kaiju Number 8 is a man really wants to join the army that fights kaiju, and he becomes a kaiju, and that gives him the power to fight them.
Absolutely.
And it's a big secret until it's not.
Like all good shonen stories, superhero stories, it starts off with one character who knows the secret, and then slowly more and more people learn the secret until it's not much of a secret.
Exactly. The main character is 35, which means I finally have a role model who's older than me again.
Okay.
I at one point, I was like, I have to stop watching these shonen anime because the main characters being 12 is not doing it for me anymore at 30.
Okay.
Like, I need adults that I can admire.
The other thing, too, about Kaiju Number 8 that some people might complain about, I didn't really notice. If you watch those people who, like, rant about how much a book or a movie sucks, they will at some point summarize it. They'll be like, and then for some reason they have to go to the north and talk to an old wizard, but it turns out they had the magic wand the whole time, and the going up to see the wizard was stupid. It's very easy to take a plot and whittle it down and make it sound stupid. So Kaiju Number 8, you could say every single battle goes the same way, and you could summarize it in that kind of snarky way. But the way that the music plays, the way that the different characters interact with each other, it still is pretty good. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite show that does action, but it does it really well.
You didn't like it as much while we were watching it, but I was obnoxious about it, so not watching it was not a choice for you.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
no, I really, really loved it. The main character's monster form is very good, you know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I give it 10 claw marks out of 10.
No, perfect. Absolutely.
All right, which anime were you most excited to talk about?
Listen.
Listening.
Mashle, Might and Magic is basically a comedy. It's sold as a comedy. In the very first episode, premise for those who haven't heard of it somehow, it's Hogwarts, except the main character, it's Hogwarts with power scaling, but the main character doesn't have magic and is just some, like, weird fitness god. Like, he does, like, 800 push-ups a day or something like that.
I've got another summary for you. You ready?
Right.
It's Harry Potter if Harry Potter could throw hands.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to see Voldemort get decked in the face? This is the show for you.
Right, but it's a comedy. Like, this guy shows up, he's like, I have the most powerful magic, and then Mashle, like, juggles it or something like that. He's like, you shouldn't be able to juggle it, here's my next powerful spell, and then he hacky sacks it into the air, and you're like, what? So there's a lot of comedy, but it still has more shonen action goodness than some of the other shows that we're going to discuss. It has more hype moments for me than Kaiju Number 8. It has more hype moments for me than Demon Slayer. Not all the time. It can't beat every plot beat of Demon Slayer, but Demon Slayer can't outpace Mashle sometimes. If you decide to check it out, you have to get to the scene. I mean, I guess technically this is maybe slightly spoilers, but where Mashle uses full muscle magic hurricane rush. And if you watch that scene and you don't cheer, maybe there's something wrong with you.
Man, do you remember You Look, You Lose?
Yes! That shit's so good! They play a game of You Look, You Lose where one person points one of 4 ways and you have to look one of the other ways. You can't be looking the same direction as you. There's a game like that in Mario Party 2, I think. And they make it really tense somehow.
Yeah, there's like swords involved.
There's swords and flames that never go out and all this other stuff. There's a scene with the Usopp-style character where he tries to fight someone who's way above his power level, and it brings me to tears every time I watch that speech. It's so good.
Also, it gave us best anime opening of the decade.
Oh yeah, with Bling Bling Boom. Yes.
By Creepy Nuts.
Speaking of Creepy Nuts.
Speaking of Creepy Nuts, they did the other best anime opening of the season for one of the best anime of the season. DandaDan was so good. So I think we've mentioned this on the podcast before. When I met Joel, he was not into like romance anime. He was strictly a shonen boy, and things that were for girls were icky. Mm-hmm. But as he's grown into himself, he's discovered he really likes romance anime, actually. And the romance in DandaDan is so beautiful. These are just stupid children.
So, premise for those who don't know it, basically, there's a couple of different elements to it, but basically, a girl who believes in spirits because her grandmother is a medium, and a boy who believes in aliens. He hasn't like ever encountered an alien, but he believes anyways.
He believes in them because he wants friends, and he thought somebody from another planet could be his friend.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, why is he so certain that aliens exist? It's more of like a desperation thing rather than he was abducted once when he was a kid. They meet each other. They sort of get along too well, they sort of don't get along at all, and they basically dare them to go to the opposite. So Alien Boy goes to a place that is haunted, and Psychic Girl goes to a place where alien abductions happen.
And what happens to him in that haunted place, Joel? What does he lose?
He meets a grandma who is voiced by Luffy's Japanese voice actress, and the Psychic Girl runs into a guy who is voiced by Zoro's voice actor in the Japanese. But what you want me to say is that the plot revolves around Okarun, I don't even remember his real name, I only know his nickname, searching for his testicles, which have been stolen by an evil witch.
His name is Takakura Ken.
There you go.
He's Knuff.
It's a weird show.
It's so weird. It's the kind of thing where, like, if my dad walked in on me watching an episode, he would pick exactly the wrong time to walk in, and he'd be like, anime is so weird, and then he'd leave. I couldn't explain it to him in a way that would make him watch it, but if he watched it, he'd be like, wow, this is really touching.
If you, like me, get a little like, why? When there's like, a scene of a woman randomly having her shirt blown off by an alien laser or something like that, or they fall and their skirt hikes up. Because like, come on guys, just go watch porn. Porn exists. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just
wasn't expecting that on this podcast. But yeah, we're sex positive at King of the What Now.
But what I'm saying is that if you're uncomfortable by that stuff, the very first episode has Psychic Girl stripped down to her underwear because she's going to get probed in the classic alien kind of story or whatever.
That's about as explicit as it gets.
Yes, there's one other scene where two women strip to their underwear of their own volition for a reason that kind of makes sense. It still makes me raise an eyebrow, like, are you doing this for reasons? But it's not a fan service show.
So I'm not usually a video essay person, right? But I was tempted to write one about DandaDan because I think that of the shonen anime that exist, I think this manages to be one of the least male-gazy anime I've ever watched.
Yes.
And it's very much about, like, developing into womanhood and female power and what it means to, like, step into and accept that power under the lens of all of this wacky anime shenanigans, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All of the most powerful characters in this anime are women. One of them is a grandma who's hot for some reason.
Yeah.
One of them is a grandma who's a cat.
And, oh my god, DandaDan has a great opening. No one can deny the power of DandaDan. But the closing, you've seen, even if you're a listener in America, if you've watched any anime, you've probably seen one of those Lucky Neko dolls. There's a spirit in one of those pretty early on that becomes the mascot of the show. It's the Pikachu. It's the fairy from PreCure.
The cat from Fairy Tail.
Happy from Fairy Tail. But the closing is this cat plugging in a hairdryer, and it blows her in the face. And every time I see that, I laugh out loud. I can't help it. I know it's coming.
I'm not allowed to skip the credits on DandaDan.
It's so good. And then also, I don't remember if it's Ira or Aria, but she's great. I love her character. She thinks that all of this is angels and demons. I do not remember all the characters of the cast, like explicitly how they interact with all this stuff, but I'm pretty sure that they all have a different explanation for what's going on.
I'm waiting for demons to be real. Aliens and ghosts were real. Demons gotta be real too.
Absolutely.
So, other anime we watched, do you want to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen or Blue-Eyed Samurai next?
Jujutsu is a little bit more near and dear to my heart because here's the thing about Jujutsu Kaisen.
Where is it?
I can't believe how many perfect characters that Gege has created. Is it Gege? JJ? I know it's spelled Gege. I'm going to say Gege.
Yeah, does
Gege?
Japanese have a hard G sound? I think so.
I think so.
Okay.
Anyways, they have perfect characters in this show. Now, many people like Itadori. Itadori is kind of this cinnamon bun person. People like the Sasuke Uchiha character. Don't remember his name. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to disrespect him or anything. My girl, Nobara, is a perfect character.
She's amazing. I feel like I want her to meet up with the main woman from DandaDan and just they work
Momo,
together.
you mean?
Momo, yes. They fight a demon together. They'd be so good at it.
And then you meet Nanami. Okay, Nanami shows up.
That's your dad.
He's yeah, I wish he was my dad. This guy shows up, he's an office worker, and he basically says, like, he has an opening speech about, like, you know, I used to be a sorcerer, and what I realized is that sorcerers are shit. And then I became an office worker. I became a salaryman, and what I realized is that office workers are shit. And he's like, growing up is when you realize that there's no hope in this world. Hello, I'm an office worker, I'm a 9 to 5, and if this fight takes me past 5 o'clock, I'm officially in overtime. That's part of his power set.
Adulthood is the small inconveniences of your favorite snack no longer being sold at the convenience store over and over and over again.
Yes! And then, is it Toto or Toto? I think it's Toto.
Toto.
He's a perfect character. That series of novellas that I was talking about writing, there is something in one of those books, I will not spoil it, but if you read it, there's something that is, I don't want to say influenced by Toto, because I'm pretty sure I came up with the idea before I met his character, but very heavily inspired by him, and he's great.
And I will say that I think it's a pretty common trope.
Yeah.
Like, you could have told me that was in Fairy Tail and I would have believed you.
Oh, yeah. I think it makes sense. But anyways.
Anyway, no, Demon Slayer up to the Shibuya arc had me in a chokehold. It was incredible. After that,
you just said Demon Slayer. You meant JJK.
Sure did.
Okay.
Sure did.
The thing is that Demon Slayer also takes place in actual Japan, not like Japania or something like that. And so there's actual cities, and I was like, was there one in Shibuya?
Yeah, Taisho era Japan, because of the Taisho secrets, I remember.
Oh.
But yeah, no, JJK, the first 2 seasons, right, up to Shibuya, were incredible. I lost my mind watching the climax of the Shibuya arc. After that, I cared a little less. It felt like it was still going to keep going, more than because there was more stuff to explore.
If you are anime only, that is nonsense, because the anime only got up to Shibuya and finished Shibuya. But we read the manga, we became week-to-week readers and caught up before it finished. And, the last couple of chapters, if you've ever read, Bleach, they'll have a chapter that's labeled, like, The Falcon and Hawk, and then the next chapter will be Falcon and Hawk 2. And sometimes you might get, like, 3 episodes that are named something, and then you might go into chapters that are named something else, and then 50 chapters later, you might get a surprise Falcon and Hawk 0 or Falcon and Hawk 4 or something. And maybe those chapters are related to each other. I never paid close enough attention to know. Jujutsu Kaisen has a 50-plus chapter fight. And if you like... When I was a kid, when I was like 14 and I first started trying to write, I thought the best thing you could do is you could have an action scene that lasts for 50 pages, where the magic just gets cooler and there's more punches and there's more people falling to the ground, but they keep getting up. And then as I got a little older, I realized you can get really tired of that after a while. And Jujutsu Kaisen kind of proved my point.
I'm very curious to see when they adapt it into the anime if we like it better, because like I said, I can't follow a fight scene in a manga, and especially reading it week to week. Can you imagine the horror of having to keep track of what everyone was doing?
Right.
There were 50 characters in that fight.
Well, and that's exactly why it lasted for 50 chapters. It was cool for what it was. It wasn't for me. But also, sorry, we were talking about perfect characters. I forgot about the 2 most important perfect characters. There is a gravity hot mom who shows up. She's awesome. What's her deal? What up, girl? And then there's Mahito. In my opinion, the reason that you can get to a certain point in JJK and then it starts to become less interesting is because Mahito is the best villain in that show.
He's an amazing villain. Your video essay that you wrote on JJK was about Mahito, and I really would like it to be posted because I want to listen to it.
Listen, now that I have a new computer and the mic seems to be working better, maybe. We'll see. But yes, there's one scene in particular that I think is the best that Jujutsu Kaisen has ever produced, and it's in the first season. Watch it and get back to me. Let me know what you thought.
Joel is not always triggered by sounds in the same way that I am. Activated is a better word. But there's a scene where music plays and there's clapping in the music and it gets you so hyped that it's been on your playlist for like 6 months.
Yeah. I listen to it while I'm running and I clap in time to the music because it's so good. Anything else you want to say about JJK to close us out?
What's Yuta? Yuta is my boy.
Yeah.
Yuta is a I love my big wife character, and that's all I have to say about him.
Yuta is fantastic. There's a character who I really like in the manga who hasn't shown up in the anime. At first, I didn't like him because there was a bunch of people in a Discord I was in that's like, he's the best character, and so I was kind of expecting the best character, and then I met him, I'm like, he's okay. Like, he's trying to be Toto 2.0, but Toto is right there. But there is a gimmick to his powers that I think is really funny, and I cannot wait to see it animated.
Absolutely.
Blue-Eyed Samurai.
Blue-Eyed Samurai. I loved Blue-Eyed Samurai. It was very much not a shonen anime. I think that it was... You were in a sci-fi and fantasy writing group, right? And sometimes people try to join the group who make a distinction between literature and that silly speculative fiction that some people write. And those people are not welcome in the group.
Stephen King was told not to go into horror because it was a silly genre and that no one would read it.
Right. And so I feel like Blue-Eyed Samurai is like the literature. It almost felt like high art. Like, it was beautifully animated, beautifully scored. The story was really compelling. They left room for additional seasons, but if they don't do additional seasons, it ended in a really satisfying place.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed it. It was a little gruesome for you, if I recall.
Yeah, I don't remember... I remember when we were watching it, I don't think I liked it as much as you, but I still liked it enough to continue wanting to watch episodes. At one point, you were like, I could just watch this on my own if you're not feeling it. I was like, no, I'm curious where the story goes. I think it tells a pretty good story. Mm-hmm. So check it out. That one's on Netflix. I'm almost positive that they're going to get a second season. I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I forgot one of the animes I want to talk about, and you're not going to have anything to say. You didn't watch it. You only saw parts of it through me.
I know what this is.
The 100 girlfriends that really, 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 really love you.
They really, really love him.
There's a lot of reallys. I'm not going to try to count how many there are, but okay. So in a lot of harem animes, there will be a single male character who will meet a bunch of different girls who are color-coded for your convenience, and they fit different archetypes. The sporty one, the tsundere one who doesn't want to admit that she likes you, the classic girl next door one. World God Only Knows is also pretty good at this, where like there's kind of a reason why it's so overtly harem-y, whereas in a lot of harem animes, there's just a guy who happens to run into a bunch of girls, and they happen to all fall in love with him. Maybe he has one really good positive quality, but like it's still a little like... they'd have other guys in their lives that they'd be interested in. 100 Girlfriends is what if we took that idea... it's the One Punch Man of harem animes. That's what it is. Jeff's Basement, Mother's Basement has done videos on why it's so good. He'll probably put it better than I can, but there's a reason why the main character has as many girls... What did the young kids say? Pulls as many baddies as he does. And the comedy is cranked up so high that it is very funny. And it actually has heartfelt moments.
I can't watch a lot of these shows because a lot of them come across a little gross to me.
Yeah.
But you showed me some stuff from this one that I was like, I really like that. That's pretty cute.
The there's a certain archetype in anime of like really young girls that it's gross. Mm-hmm. If I know a show's going to have that, I'm not going to watch it. I don't care. It could be art. I'm not watching it. That version of this character in this show, she's not like young, but she's the youngest. She's adorable. She has a little cell phone that is her voice. She has a hard time talking. And there's an episode where, for reasons, she's kind of like, she's not in trouble, but she's kind of isolated, and the entire episode, you can just hear her phone going, help, 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 help. It's so good.
I love her so much. No, I was going to call out the fact that they have a non-speaking character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. Selective mutism is very hard to deal with.
Yeah, and... this show, the premise is that this guy is going to get 100 girlfriends. Various reasons, there are 100 girls who will fall in love with him, and if he doesn't return their love, they will die. That's like, it's written into the plot, so he wants to love them. And you might think, oh, we'll get like the first 5 girls, and then maybe there will be a time skip, or maybe the main 5 girls, the first 5 girls will be the important ones, and every girl he meets after that will get less and less time. Supposedly, I've only watched the anime, the manga's coming out, I think they're up to like 32 or something, but supposedly every single one of them has legitimate character interactions with each other and personalities and flaws, and he has a different relationship with every single one of them. It is insane.
Yep. Every time we say the title of this series, I can hear Mother's Basement's voice saying it in my head, like in the exact cadence that he said it. Because you're right, that was the video that influenced you to watch it. The one big ick for me in that whole season, spoilers, one of his girlfriend's moms is also his girlfriend, turns out.
Yeah.
She had a child very young, I think, while she was still in middle school, so she's still young-ish. So, yeah.
I mean... Yeah, okay, no, you're right. That is pretty gross. I was a little like, is this really going to work? And we haven't actually gotten to the point where we've been able to explore it, because that was the very end of the season. I'm willing to trust that the author will be able to make it more palatable, but at the same time, if you are doing what is essentially both a spoof and a superior version of the harem anime, they always have at least one MILF character, so it makes sense that you kind of have to include the archetype. But the relationship with the other characters, that's weird. There's also an ongoing joke about 2 of the characters being lesbians for each other, and they don't like to admit it, and they downplay it, but there's an awful lot of screen time spent with them, like, kissing each other, and that feels a little male-gazy, and it also, it frustrates me that the main character is unable to say, bisexuals exist. He just goes, oh, they're such good friends, and, like, that's the joke, but, like, come on, man.
We love a bi queen.
We do. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, in his little polycule. But yeah, any other anime I wanted to call out? I don't think so. We've had 2 seasons of PreCure. We fell off of Wonderful PreCure pretty quickly. It just wasn't quite working for us. I think that the cast in that one felt a lot younger to me than some of the other seasons that we enjoyed. But a new season has started, and I love it. The You and Idol PreCure.
Yep.
I'm a sucker for idol anime. I'm not even gonna lie and say that I'm not, like Giguk does. But it's delightful. Each of the characters gets a song that they sing when they beat up the bad guys, and they've brought back punching and kicking because girls just want to rampage, so the series is good again. And yeah, I'm hoping that we stick with it and that it stays at the level that it's at. Yes,
absolutely. I'm going to try and make an effort to watch it, but again, don't expect a weekly episode. Even if it's just me, I'm not interested in talking about every single episode that comes out.
Absolutely. A show that's not really anime, but is anime adjacent, is Arcane.
Yeah, Arcane exists too.
What were you gonna say?
I just remembered that Alice in Borderland, I think, came out after were we talking about it when we were still doing the podcast? Oh, well, never mind.
I loved Alice in Borderland. Babes on the internet, my favorite genre is death game. So if you have a really good death game that you want to send me, put it in the comments, because I want to absorb all of them. I love death game as a genre. Anyway, Arcane. Arcane was a beautiful show. I feel like it used music more effectively than most other shows I've seen, especially recently. Especially in the second season, they do a lot of kind of montage-style animation to music, and it hits every time. So I really, really liked that show. The plot was pretty basic. It didn't go anywhere that I didn't expect it to go. But sometimes you don't watch shows because they have a super unique plot, you know? Like,
you just want to see it done well. Sometimes you want a basic meal made by an amazing chef.
Exactly. If you heard the high-pitched whining in Joel's part there, that was the dog.
That was Kirby. We love him. He's a very whiny boy. And
now the dogs are bringing WrestleMania upstairs, so we'll see if we have to kick them out of the office or not.
Oh, always fun. Arcane.
Yes.
It's well crafted. The story isn't necessarily anything new, but it has a lot of interesting characters.
Yep, it's on site for me with Jace. I will destroy him. Victor is perfect and has never done anything wrong.
Yeah,
you know who
absolutely.
else is perfect?
Who's that?
Silco. I love Silco. He's my boy.
He's got that Guild Tesoro Doflamingo crocodile energy that you crave.
He just wanted a better life for his people.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was leading the revolution. Yeah, so I liked Arcane a lot. I have a friend who liked it more than a lot, I would say. I would say they liked it a completely regular amount, you know?
Yeah.
But it was their request that we watch it, and so I exchanged them reading the first Stormlight book with us watching Arcane.
Yeah, Arcane. Mm-hmm. The way that they slip in certain animation details, there is no way for me to explain a detail without spoiling something, but there's a place where they change the frame rate, and the frame rate they change it to is significant to the plot. I never would have noticed. There's a lot of things where, like, oh, the way the characters are standing, it's just like the way they look on the character select screen. I'm like, that's really cool, but that's a cool attention to detail whether or not it works for me. And the villain from the second season is a I hate you, please die character, and that's what they wanted you to feel, so that was effective.
Yep. Oh, man. This show almost did the impossible. It almost convinced me to play Arcane or League of Legends. Here's the thing, listeners, I don't play video games. When I say I've played something, what I mean is I watched Joel play it. I don't actually like the playing part of playing video games. I like the experience part of playing video games. And as cool as the lore of League of Legends is, there's none of that in the gameplay.
It's not communicated. Nope.
And the teens who play League of Legends are mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will not be bought. If they have comics, I might read them. If they come out with another show, which they are, they're doing 3 more shows, I will watch them. But yeah, the next one is going to have your girl Lux in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
She was at the end of the last season. Jinx dropped down and was like, hello.
What? I don't remember any of this.
Okay.
Is there anything else, like TV shows that we watch? I'm drawing a blank. I don't know.
I mean, if we can't fondly remember it, probably not. Although I couldn't remember anything we'd watched or read or listened to. So.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. Like, there's stuff that I'll get really interested in, and then I'll kind of stop for a little while, and then maybe I get back into it.
Yep.
But I think those are all the major ones. I have some books to recommend.
Yes, we read our way through the year of Sanderson.
Yes. So Brandon Sanderson, during the pandemic, he used his stress to write more books that he did not tell. I don't think he told his publisher. I don't think he told anyone about them. And then he dropped those 4 books off, and he set up a GoFundMe campaign where if they reached certain goals, he would release them. He would give people certain, like, first edition. Could you imagine if you pay me enough money on GoFundMe, I'll save you from 1 heart attack? But anyway.
Brandon Sanderson appears in our time of need. In our darkest hour, he is there.
Okay, so he came out with 4 books. And it was Tress of the Emerald Sea, Yumi the Painter, Sunlit Man, and The Frugal
Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England.
Yes, absolutely. 3 of those books are Cosmere adjacent. If you don't know what that means, you're not deep enough into the lore to check. Don't check out Sunlit Man. There is too much backstory for that one to make sense. He assumes you know the lore. Yumi and Tress of the Emerald Sea, you can read them as standalones. Me, as a weirdo who needs to know everything, who needs to, like, I won't start episode 2 of a show. I need to start with episode 1. There's stuff in those books that make more sense if you know more about the Cosmere.
But yeah, they were so good. So Brandon does this thing sometimes where he'll take, like, 2 stories he likes, and he'll go, well, what if I just sort of schlooped these things together? So while we were reading Tress of the Emerald Sea, I was like, this feels very Princess Bride, like extremely Princess Bride, right? And we get to the end, and he goes, I wrote this as a gift for my wife. Her favorite movie is The Princess Bride. And then Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, I think, were like, this is just Final Fantasy. And, like, sure enough, we get to the end, and he was inspired by Final Fantasy. Joel's informed me it might have actually been Your Name, which, yes, it gave big Your Name vibes, and I think he might have called that out in the postscript as well. I don't know. My brain is soup. But the important thing is they were really, really good, and my favorite one was Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I am a sucker for these, like, really intense, like, tragic love stories. Something about them just hurts my heart. Your Name is probably my favorite movie of all time at this point, because it's beautiful and it makes me cry big tears every time I listen to the soundtrack.
100%. Yeah, no, Sunlit Man got me to cry at one point. I don't think Tress did. Tress is probably my favorite. Sunlit Man had the biggest emotional impact. I think Yumi also got me. But again, Sunlit Man, the reason it got me is because it was sort of lifting off of the first 4 books of the Stormlight Archive. One of the key relationships is very similar to relationships found in that book.
Yeah. No, also, going back to me saying Yumi and the Nightmare Painter was my favorite, I think I'm running out of steam here. My brain is slowing down. It has an element of, like, shadowy monsters, and that is one of my favorite things. Shadow magic is cool.
100%.
Also,
I think that's great.
Here's some things you will find in Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, should you choose to read it. Shadow monsters. Space aliens. Artistic ennui. Rock stacking as a form of art. Girl power. Girls not having power. Ramen.
A woman who is not technically human, who does not quite understand humans, who has the ability to give herself any appearance that she wants, taking on the appearance of a woman with large boobies who likes to show them off, not like Flash people, but just like wears kind of revealing clothing, who constantly teases the main teenage-aged character about, I mean, I designed this body for you to look at it. What's wrong with that, kid? And he's just like, no, please stop. You're being so weird.
And a man who should be a man, but is instead a coat rack.
Has been turned into a coat rack. Absolutely.
So if any of that tickles your fancy, please enjoy Yumi and the Nightmare Painter.
Now, you are running out of steam, so let's just kind of 50,000-foot view Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time series. Is that what it's called?
Okay, listen to me. My dad got me into classic sci-fi as a teenager because he was like, if you're going to be reading all the time, you should at least be reading things that are good.
There should be 2 people in a room explaining the plot of the book to each other.
Yes, that's classic science fiction. I even wrote a song about it, which I will not sing right now. But I really like that kind of intense, hard science fiction that takes a look at, what if X scientific concept, what if this advancement, what if that thing. The Foundation series is one of my favorites because it explores the development of psychology as a science that affects the world around them. Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time is what if sentience evolved in other species. The first book is spiders, and then there are other species in later books. I won't get into what it is because I think you guys should look at it yourselves maybe, but it's incredible. It's so good. And he just came out with another book that is also like, what if life evolved differently on a different planet?
But it's not in the same series.
It is not in the same series. And his writing is just so good. Like, you read it and you get a sense of this man's original interest was xenobiology. Like, he's much more interested in creatures than anything else. And that is how I feel also, being a monster lover, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast. So,
what's this new book that you read called?
Alien Clay.
Okay. I'm just looking through our Audible if there's anything up. Hey, there's a lot of dog behavior stories in here. I wonder where that could have come from. Yeah, Children of Time, Children of Ruin. Yeah, I think that's basically everything that we read. All these other ones are books that we reread that had already come out.
I'm reading Battle Royale. I haven't finished it.
Okay.
It's a good book. The foundation of the death game genre.
Yeah, absolutely. When Hunger Games came out as a movie, there were people who were like, well, actually, this is just Battle Royale. And now you're reading the book. That is Battle Royale.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, Battle Royale is much more about how would a fascist government indirectly assert control. Because, like, the game, as it's called, nobody's allowed to talk about it, so nobody knows what it is, just that only one person from the randomly selected group comes back. But a lot of the time, the people who are randomly selected are teenagers who were problematic in some way, like playing rock music when they weren't supposed to, because that's American, and American is bad in this 1990s Japan. Whereas I think Hunger Games was also a look at an authoritarian government, but it was more on the side of we have to entertain the people.
Yeah.
And this is a good way to exert control while keeping the rich and mindless entertained. And so I think that they're both good examples of the genre. I think they offer different things, and Battle Royale is much more serious in tone.
Yeah, it probably wasn't written for a young audience, I assume, whereas it's young adult for the American audience.
Can I go off on a brief side tangent really quick?
Absolutely.
So I don't always have the correct emotional responses to things that I'm reading or watching, right? It's the autism. I can't help it. I've upset some people with the way I've emotionally responded to things. But I remember The Hunger Games as kind of a comedy, and I don't think they were.
No.
But when she dropped the wasp nest on that girl, I laughed my ass off while I was reading it. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever read. And I tried to describe it to my dad, and my dad was like, "That's horrible. Why are you laughing?" I don't know what to tell you, Dad. The mental image of somebody being underneath a tree and me going, "Haha, get wasp nest," is hilarious to me.
It's hilarious in the abstract, and it is they're bad people, so you want them to be punished or whatever. But I do think that maybe laughing uproariously might not be quite what the author was going for.
Yeah.
Man disguised himself as Rock is pretty funny though. Like survived like days because no one could find him because he looked like a rock. That's
Hello,
funny.
I am Rock. Absolutely. Anything else you wanted to talk about that you've been up to?
Okay, there is one more thing that I have to beg you, please go watch this video. Even if you're not a fan of One Piece, let me actually look up what the video's called. Okay, this is spoilers for One Piece. Skip ahead like 20 seconds if you do not want spoilers for One Piece. Luffy transforms to Gear 5 for Rob Lucci, One Piece. It's under the Crunchyroll account. You will know it's the right one because it starts with Luffy, as is appropriate of a man whose surname is Monkey, beating his chest. And he goes, "Come on, come on, come on, come on!" It's like 2 minutes. It is wonderful. He has unlocked a new transformation, and it is, on paper, the power of ridiculousness.
It's peak One Piece. It's so goofy and silly.
It absolutely is. He becomes a cartoon character. He becomes a cartoon character who knows he's a cartoon character, and his enemies cannot counter, because they are also cartoon characters. But it's also a menacing power. Like, it's changing the world around him. And so this clip, it has the humor, it has the silly, and then it has one single panel, one shot that makes me go, I love Rob Lucci. He's my favorite. And then you get just a second of menace, and then the clip ends. It's so good.
I love the things that are horror from another character's point of view, but aren't sold as horror.
Yeah.
Do you remember The Parent Trap?
Yes.
I saw a post that was like, from the dog's point of view, The Parent Trap is a horror movie because her person has been replaced, but she doesn't know why. She just knows she smells off.
Oh, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a changeling movie.
But no, One Piece continues to have my respect. I personally really liked the Wano arc that got wrapped up, and then we went into Egghead Island, and the arc started, and I was like, this is okay. And you get to the end of the arc, and you are not prepared for what that arc is going to give you. It starts out as we're going to meet an Einstein-like character, and he's going to show us how to build a rocket, or so. I don't remember why they're there, but, he's going to show us how to do science. You're like, oh, that's cool. And then Oda's like, what if I made you cry by giving you one of the most heart-wrenching backstories in a series that has a bunch of heart-wrenching backstories? And also, what if I give you a really, oh shit moment with the bad guys? And then what if I multiplied that by 5? It's really good.
We're in the end game now, fam. No, I think I have a problem with expectations. If I expect something to go a certain direction and it doesn't, it disappoints me, and then I can't think fondly of it. So I think there are things I wanted from Wano that I didn't get.
Sure.
I expect that if I watch the anime, I will enjoy it more. I think that One Piece works much better for me as an anime than it does as a manga.
Oh yeah, I think that the anime works better for my brain as well. But as the folks at Piecemeal plug right here, have pointed out, there's some differences where the manga is just superior objectively. So One Piece is just one of those things where you should download all different versions at once.
Yes, I think that Oda, as a storyteller, does a really good job with using composition to help tell his story.
Yes.
And you lose out on all of that when you switch to an animated format.
Yep.
Also, like, the way lines are delivered might not be like he intended. The pacing might not be the way he intended. So like you said, there is a reason to do both.
I cannot remember which YouTube creator it was. It might be Super Eye Patch Wolf because he does a lot of content like this, but he talked about the Chainsaw Man anime. And there was one scene that in the manga, all right, there's different demons and devils in Chainsaw Man, and someone's using like a weird curse technique. And what it is, it's a finger from out of frame of the panel the manga's in, flicking a nail into the frame. It's like a breaking the fourth wall thing that can only exist in manga format. And in the anime, all they were able to show was a nail and a hand flicking it to hit it in, and at that point, it's not the same. It's not breaking the medium. I am almost positive, I've seen other people talk about it too, that Luffy will do something so meta at the end of the series that anime will not be able to capture it, because he's going to do something where he grabs something from another panel and grabs it over or something.
Absolutely.
And I think that's everything. I thought this was going to be a half-hour episode. This is much longer than a half-hour episode.
Isn't it always? How long have we been recording?
It's an hour and 20 minutes.
All right, Joel. So give the listeners a preview. What can they look forward to in our Wind and Truth episode? Just one big, like...
Wind and Truth tells a story that happens over 10 days. And you might think that that's not a lot of time. And you might think that nothing's going to happen. But it turns out everything will happen in those 10 days.
Everything happens all at once. And that has been your...
This is after recording, Joel. This isn't going to fit into the episode at all cleanly, so I'm just going to say, hey, editing Joel here. I completely forgot to call out a couple of shit posts that I think really deserve some attention.
All right, I'm ready.
If you don't like cursing, stay away from this. But there is the song Jackie's Box, which is related to FNAF. And my name is Edwin. And there's also the amazing Brando has been releasing songs. I think that she's been releasing songs for a while now, but I only rediscovered them recently. They're doing a solo thing. Does not matter. They have a song about the original Mario Bros. And like I said, this is a shit post. If you're looking for a song about Mario, you're not going to get it except for a line about I'm the plumber and everyone shits and it's my problem, which is just masterclass humor for me personally. Also, do you remember the name of the song by Man on the Internet about the pit?
Yes, it's literally called Into the Pit.
Is it? Okay.
Pretty sure.
If you go to YouTube and you look up Man on the Internet, Into the Pit, you'll probably find it, and this one is clean. This one is actually really good music that you should check out, and it is not a shitpost.
He's got 2 William Afton songs. They go hard as heck. I was going to say something if we're calling out songs. Oh, Joel,
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Did you watch the Star Wars prequel trilogy and look at Emperor Palpatine and Anakin Skywalker and go, I get shippy vibes?
Not at all, no.
Well, then Bear Ghost has a song that will make you hold their drink. And they're cooking something.
They're cooking something. Bear Ghost also had a song that recently came out. They did a cover of Hot to Go, and I like it. It has what I believe is referred to as chip tunes in the background, and I like it a lot.
I told Joel that song is how I know that I'm attracted to men, because the male cover of that song is much sexier than the original.
Absolutely. So I did just double check. If you search Into the Pit, you will get it because the song is called Five Nights at Freddy's Down to Hell original Into the Pit song. So Into the Pit's still in there. But the actual song, if you're on Spotify, the song is also on there and it's called Down to Hell.
That's right, okay.
If you've never played FNAF, I don't think you'll get like all the references, but it doesn't matter. The song itself is really good.
It's such a bop. I am a bad wife because sometimes Joel sends me things and I'm like, I'll listen to that later, or I don't feel like clicking on this, and then I just don't. And he was like, did you listen to that song yet? Did you listen to that song yet? And I finally was like, okay, I'm listening to the song. And I liked it so much that I played it on repeat for hours every day for several weeks.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that's just about it. Oh, well, the other reason that you sometimes don't click on the songs that I send you is because sometimes I send you Down to Hell, I think is what it was called, and you're like, wow, this is really good. And sometimes I send you The Amazing Brando Super Mario Bros. Explicit, and
I cannot emphasize enough how much I hated that experience.
Sometimes shitposts work for you, and sometimes they don't. You quote Jackie's Box sometimes, but you will not quote Super Mario Bros.
Listen to me. I only just got what they were doing with that title, by the way.
What do you mean?
The title Jackie's Box is also a shitpost. That's an inappropriate joke.
Oh, maybe.
Anyway.
Oh no, a time portal! I'm going back to editing now! Whoa! And that has been your
doot final thought. Outro goes here.
Thank you for listening.
You turned into Kaido there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I do that voice for the piece.
Oh yeah, you do. You're really good.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Bonus episode.
Bonus episode. Bonus
Episode of King of the What Now. Bye, everyone.